Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 305 Insights. I'm your host, Alan Somerton, and we're doing I don't want to say instant reaction because I'm recording this kind of late, post all of the major college football games. But I really just want to try and get this podcast out before, Sunday morning when it's actually going to be posted. I want to do the recording late Saturday night to talk about FSU's monumental victory over the Alabama Crimson Tide. Final score 31-17. An amazing victory for the Seminoles, coming in as a 13.5, basically a 2-touchdown underdog to the Crimson Tide. And I'm going to do a deeper dive probably later on in the week, but just trying to get my initial thoughts out on this game. First drive for Alabama was pretty crazy. 17 plays, 75 yards, took up almost 9 minutes. They had 55 rushing yards on that first drive. And then the team finished with 87 for the day. So, great job by this defense to make the adjustments and to dominate the line of scrimmage for the rest of the game. There was a stretch in the second half where the offense wasn't really producing, and it was clear the defense was wearing down, but the team responded. And I think that's one of the bigger takeaways from this game. Yes, you went up 24-7, but the pivotal moment in this game was when the defense stopped Alabama, and then unfortunately Jalen Lucas muffed the punt with, I think it was about a minute or so left in the third quarter. Minute 56 left in the third quarter. The next play, they allowed pass interference, but they didn't break. There was a bending of their will at the moment, but they did not break. And yeah, eventually Alabama scored, but it wasn't on that drive. It was a drive later after the offense was ineffective. And with 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter, it was a one-score game, 24-17. And they still came away with the victory. I mean, coming into this season, I thought this would be one of the losses. Going to be completely honest, I didn't get my preview podcast out in time before the season started, but I thought FSU realistically would go 7-5 with a ceiling of 8-4 this year. But they dominated both sides of the line of scrimmage. On offense, they ran, I believe, 63 plays. They allowed just 3 negative plays and 1 sack allowed. Alabama did not get a tackle for loss until about 25 seconds left in the third quarter. Meanwhile, on the defensive side, you had 3 sacks, 7 tackles for losses, and I believe it was like 5 pass deflections. Yes, 5. Ty Simpson was 1 for 10 for 30 yards with 3 sacks, 1 under pressure. 13 yards was the longest rush for Alabama. There was a 230-87 rushing advantage for FSU. Ryan Williams was virtually shut down. He only caught 5 of 11 targets. He was 0 for 3 when it came to passes that were 5+ yards down the field. And Alabama also committed 8 penalties for 70 yards. A vital one was on one of the defensive linemen in the fourth quarter. It helped extend the drive, and they scored with 31-17 with 7 minutes and 17 seconds left. That personal foul that Bama committed there was on a third down play. So again, free first down, but that could have changed the momentum of the game there. Not a lot of completed passes for Tommy Castellanos, 9 of 14, but those big plays mattered. 64 yards to Jalen Lucas, 40 yards to Squirrel White. Deuce Robinson had 2 catches for 18 yards. But yeah, overall, 49 carries, 230 yards, 4 touchdowns. Tommy was 16 for 78 for a touchdown. Makai Denzi, 356 with a touchdown with a long of 32. Chroma in his true freshman debut, 7 carries, 31 yards for a 4.4 average. Gavin Sawchuk, 6 for 28 with a touchdown. Jalen Lucas, 6 for 22. Roydell Williams, 6 of 14. Kazea Holmes, 2 for 7 with a touchdown. Just a great game overall by this offensive line. The running game took advantage of a very strong game by them. And the new Tony White-led defense. Well, before I move on to them, let's give the flowers to Gus Malzahn for once again calling a great game against Alabama. He made a living off of that for many years at Auburn, and he continues to do it again here at Florida State. Once again, Tony White in this new lead defense. Earl Little Jr. looks incredibly comfortable at the rover position. 9 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss. And then you had Ashland Barker, 3 tackles, 2 pass deflections. I mean, these safeties were all over the place. It was really, really fun to watch that. He also had just you could just see it in general, like just his overall assertiveness, and also the same thing with Earl Little Jr., the speed, the assertiveness, the confidence in the moves that they were making. Awesome to watch. On the defensive line, Darrell Jackson Jr., again, didn't really fill up the stat sheets, only had 1 tackle, but he was really eating up those double teams like he is supposed to in this system. Daniel Lyons had a sack, a few QB hurries, and a forced fumble. The pleasant surprise of the day was linebacker Blake Nicholson. 4 tackles, tackle for loss, QB hurry, and a pass breakup. He really made an impact on the plays that he was in the game. So this staff has been high on a lot of these people, namely Earl Little Jr., Blake Nicholson. They said once it clicks for him, he's going to really fit this system well. And a lot of the metrics show that he's one of the fastest, most athletic linebackers on this team. So once it clicks for him, it's going to make this defense even better. But again, you saw it with Barker and Earl Little Jr., the way these safeties were playing, how they feel comfortable in their shoes. Justin Cryer, 7 tackles. Jabril Rawls with the amazing tackle to prevent Ty Simpson from converting that 4th and 10 late in the game. Elijah Herring had some good plays in there too at linebacker, the transfer from Memphis. Mandrell Desir, one of the Desir twins, a true freshman, made his impact felt too. He had 4 tackles. But yeah, Stephon Thompson had a sack, tackle for loss. DeMonte Diggs had a sack, tackle for loss. Deontay McCray, tackle for loss. Quindarius Jones had a tackle for loss. Just great game by this defense. Jabril Rawls had a pass deflection. Jane Jones had a pass deflection as well. So just, again, outside of the Jane Lucas muff punt, a pretty clean game. And again, coming into this game, I was really looking forward to how this coaching staff would do and how they will coach up this team. And so far, again, 1 game in, but this is what you wanted to see if you were a Seminoles fan. Forget the final score. Obviously, that is a plus. That is a success beyond a lot of people's wildest dreams. And inside in Tallahassee, forget outside, because there's a lot of people who didn't think this would be able to happen. I personally believe that the first half would be close and that Alabama would pull away because they have more bodies in general. And you almost saw that happen in the fourth quarter where the defense was getting exhausted for the Seminoles. But again, they showed their grit. They had that will. They just, the generic, they wanted it more than Alabama. It was just a game that you could be really proud of as a Seminole fan for where this program could be headed. Again, they're not filled with the 5-star recruits like everybody wants them to be, like everybody expects them to be based on historical precedent. But Norvell and company have said that you're going to earn your way on this field. There's no more Patrick Payton, Marvin Jones Jr. loafing around, just being on the field because they're getting massive NIL contracts. If you make it on the field, it's because you deserve it. And you're seeing the different type of energy that is on the field that is reflected in the play calling, in the execution, in the results because of that mentality. Again, I just really wanted to get some quick thoughts out there about that. And we'll do a deeper dive later on in the week, but overall I have not enjoyed a game more than this game in quite some time for FSU. And the flip side of this is going to be what's going to happen with Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. There's a lot of hype coming into the season for this team. Yes, they were ranked number 8, but he brought in his offensive coordinator from Washington after one season away from him. You brought back a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, but it just wasn't there. It was odd they abandoned the run so quickly. Again, I know your longest run was 13 yards for the day, but 55 yards on the first drive and 87 for the game. It was eerily similar to how FSU started last year in Ireland against Georgia Tech, where they had a really good first drive. They went up 7-0, and then it all went downhill from there. I'm not saying that Alabama's going to have a 2-10 season. They were missing some pieces at defensive tackle. Some of their offensive linemen weren't fully healthy, but that really isn't an excuse. And DeBoer has said that already in one of his post-game interviews. There's enough talent. There's enough 4 or 5-star bodies to fill in those gaps. But is this a precursor of what things are going to look like for Bama? This is supposed to be one of the most talented offensive lines in the country on paper. And yet, FSU, which came into the game where universally a lot of experts thought they did not have the bodies, in the sense of, yeah, you have Darrell Jackson and you have James Williams, but they didn't have enough of these types of NFL bodies that you thought would be able to put pressure on Alabama, would be able to do what they did against Ty Simpson to make him be a second or two late on his reads and not be able to digest what Tony White's throwing at him. They didn't think that'd be possible, and yet it was. Is this a precursor of what's going to happen in the SEC? Will they be able to hold up against more elite defensive lines, in the sense of they have the pedigrees of the blue chip recruits, and will they be able to exploit the Bama offensive line the same way that FSU did? We'll see. But it's not a good start for DeBoer. I believe there was a stat out there that when Alabama is favored by double digits. Nick Saban was 131-2, and Kalen DeBoer is 4-4 in his first year and change at Alabama. Not a good start. So we'll see how Bama develops, but for right now, Noles are really soaking it in, and the fan base is soaking it as well. The key aspect of this game as well that I want to speak on before we wrap this one up really quickly is there was a lot of visitors for this game for the 2026 recruiting class, 2027, 2028, and beyond. There was, I believe, over 100 visitors for this game. They saw the atmosphere. They saw how Doak Campbell can be an amazing place to play in. They saw what the coaching staff delivered on. They saw the results on the field. They're seeing the results off the field with the investment that the school is making into these facilities. This is about as good as it gets right now for the start of a season for FSU. So it's definitely time to soak it in. You still have to take it one day at a time, but again, next two games are against East Texas A&M and Kent State. So before you face Virginia on a Friday. That being said, I'm just really, really soaking this game in. It's a game that I really enjoyed watching, and it's just, like I said, something that I'm going to soak in, and I think every Seminole fan should do that right now because Tommy Castellanos talked the talk and he walked the walk. Mike Norvell didn't have that same type of energy that he did last year in the sense that he said, oh, this is my fastest, strongest team, et cetera, et cetera. He understood the assignment. He knows what type of pressure he's under this year to perform. And he came out and led this team to, again, the best start that you could have imagined for a Florida State team. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Like I said, it was just my quick instant reaction thoughts on this game after watching it and rewatching it a little bit, like the second half again. So we're going to have a deeper dive into this game later on in the week. We're also going to have a deeper dive into the bigger games of the weekend. And once the game finishes later today, we'll review that one as well. So thanks for listening to this episode, folks. Thanks for stopping by. You know the drill. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. If you listen to us on the YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow Apple Podcasts, rate us, subscribe, do all that stuff. You know the drill already. Thanks for listening, folks. Thanks for stopping by. And we'll catch you next time here on 305 Insights. Have a good one, folks.